Kendrick Lamar and Drake just stopped the entire hip-hop world in a way that hasn't been seen in decades, as they exchanged some of the most mind-boggling diss tracks of not just their own careers, but in the entirety of rap's over 50-year history. And while it's undeniable that these two titans going head-to-head as they dropped entire records just minutes apart from each other will go down in history as an all-time legendary moment, what everybody is talking about right now is who dropped the better musical nuke, and when you look at each song and see them for what they truly are, you'll find out that while both of these tracks are going to dominate the cultural spotlight for quite some time, only one is going to be remembered as the true victor that didn't just change this feud, but the entirety of hip-hop as a whole. So when it comes to everything that just went down between Drake and Kendrick Lamar, it's safe to say that May 3rd, 2024 is gonna go down as one of the most memorable days in hip-hop history, as after Kendrick kicked things off with a scathing diss track at Drake in the multi-layered, eye-opening 616 in LA. Drake fired back towards the end of the day with his response to both of Kendrick's recent diss tracks with the cut Family Matters, and not even an hour after this, Kendrick came right back with his second diss track in a single day with the cut Meet the Grams, and oh my god. Between the way Drake fired back at everything not just Kendrick Lamar but all of the other artists dissing him have been saying, to Kendrick's final response, I don't know if there's ever been more disses thrown out in such a small period of time, but beyond the sheer amount of full-blown punches being thrown, the weight of these attacks just took things to an entirely new place. And when it comes to bringing things to the next level, while Kendrick Lamar predicted that Drake was gonna take things into a nasty place, this didn't stop his diss track Family Matters from creating a storm of controversy, as from the video where he heavily trolls Kendrick to all the rappers he disses. This song showcased to us how Drake is handling being at the beef in this point where the stakes are so high, and while Drake's pen game here is not as layered, calculated, or as multifaceted as Kendrick's was on the disses that came his way leading up to this song has still lit a fire in the hip-hop world by, first off, responding back to Rick Ross and his diss track Champagne Moments, A$AP Rocky who dissed Drake on Future and Metro Boomin's second album We Still Don't Trust You. And speaking of this project, Drake of course still comes at Future, Metro, and The Weeknd here, and while we are definitely here for the main event, as Drake clowns A$AP Rocky and flips back what he said to diss him and Rihanna. And then following this, ultimately shuts down any moves Rocky can make by talking about how he hardly drops music anymore. It's safe to say that he put a close to this short exchange, and his disses for Rick Ross, Metro, and The Weeknd were formidable. Although I think this track makes it clear that Drake is either scared of Future, as maybe he knows something we don't, or he's still trying to save their relationship so they can collab after all of this, because he really holds his punches on him. But overall, despite this song being pretty lengthy at 7 minutes and 37 seconds, I think with Drake once again spending so much time dissing a rapper who doesn't drop music, a singer, a producer, and also by sparing the person who started this all in Future. Despite how good some of these jabs may be, it seems like an overall odd thing to do here when you consider the fact that Kendrick just released over 9 minutes of material throwing straight dirt on your name, and when you really think about this song in the greater sense. From all these disses, which just feel like a way to pad out the runtime, to the hook of the first section, which is repeated multiple times like this is trying to be a club banger and not a diss track. It feels like a good portion of this record is just filler as a diss track, and it's really trying to offer spectacle over substance, and this is especially reflected in the fact that Drake literally made an entire music video for the track, where he crushes the Good Kid Mad City van, which, don't get me wrong, is definitely hilarious. But I think the beef is beyond the point where Drake can rely on gimmicks and jokes like this to take a stance against Kendrick, and as this was something that Lamar clowned him directly for. It only seems like by doing this, Drake is only further validating everything his rival said. Now beyond the video, the catchy hooks, bridges, and all the name drops he makes, when Drake does go at Kendrick here, throughout all 3 of the track's sections, he is trying to shock everybody listening by revealing some major dirt on Kendrick, and there are some insane things that Drake says here for sure. But as Kendrick already predicted that Drake was gonna make some outrageous claims about him, I think you gotta take everything he says with a grain of salt, because I don't think anybody thinks Drake is an inherently honest person, as he's lied in his disses before, such as when he said that he melted Pharrell's chains on Travis Scott's Meltdown, and here. When you look at the disses and just do some brief research, you'll quickly find out that a lot of what Drake is saying is just not true at all, as when he talks about Kendrick never giving back to his community. That's clearly a lie, as there are countless occasions of Kendrick investing back in the place he came from, and beyond this. He says that Baby Keem is his ghostwriter, which again, is easily proven not to be the case, as we have seen the exact opposite as in leaks from recent years. Kendrick has done reference tracks for Keem, where he's done tracks like 16 in addition to him. He's written and recorded references for SZA and even an MC like J-Rock, and out of all the people Drake could have tried to say right for Kendrick, as I think anybody with basic listening skills could tell you that the guy who wrote this definitely did not write this. Now moving into some deeper water, Drake says that Kendrick urged Tupac's estate to send out a cease and desist for the controversial tailor-made freestyle, and there is no evidence whatsoever to say that this is false. But even with that, this does not align with anything Kendrick has done up to this point, and with him making fun of Drake for trying to get a cease and desist on like that, it would just seem super hypocritical and out of character for Kendrick to do something like this, and even way crazier than this claim. Drake says that Kendrick's PG Lang co-founder Dave Free is the father of one of his kids, and wow. When Drake says this in the first section of the song, you can see that he's playing with no rules from here on out, as this is an insane thing to say as if it were true. It would betray and destroy both Kendrick's business and personal life, and even crazier than all this, Drake says something that could potentially change the way we see Kendrick as a whole, but to avoid any further detail because of guidelines. All I'm gonna say is that Drake claims that Kendrick has done some terrible things in his marriage, and while this would be beef-altering if it were true, at this current moment, there is no evidence whatsoever to back this up. And to add further context to everything, Kendrick was accused of being in a very similar situation in 2014. But ultimately, he was deemed innocent, and he talked about this entire experience on the Breakfast Club interview with Charlemagne. While if this was true, this would put everything we know about Kendrick Lamar into question. There is nothing to prove this, and these actions don't align with anything he stands for whatsoever, and beyond this, a lot of the other jabs Drake makes are things that Kendrick has pointed out himself, such as that his father got robbed by his former TDE CEO, and does Drake think that he cracked something here? Because Kendrick made an entire song about this in Duckworth. And with so many other things Drake says about Kendrick's marriage, Lamar already told us all of this on Mr. Morale, so overall, while Drake's disses did do a good job at giving him some momentum and creating sheer chaos, a lot of these claims seem like they came from random corners of the internet as opposed to credible sources, and while if Drake's track was able to live a little bit longer, the pressure would begin to come back to Kendrick. Just minutes after Drake released his comeback, Lamar came right back with his third Drake diss track, Meet the Grams, and oh my god, as Kendrick had a perfectly fitted response ready for Drake just minutes after he dropped his diss. I think it proves two things. One, that Kendrick knew the route Drake was going to take, as it was really his only choice, and that also, Kendrick does have some sort of inside intel in Drake's OVO camp, as he alluded to on 6:16 AM in LA, and while the timing of the response pointed this out, it was seemingly proved, as the picture for this track was a zoomed out version of the Maybach glove we saw on the cover of Kendrick's second diss, and with this picture, we now know that the items in the full image are from a suitcase that belonged to Drake's dad and were owned by Drake, and from literal receipts to bottles with his name on it. This begins to show us some of the traits that really define and have corrupted Drake behind closed doors and on the song itself. Kendrick only brings this idea further and further to fruition, as he delivers not just the most vile record in this feud, but in his entire career. Starting off a song with the bar, "Dear Adonis, I'm sorry that man is your father," is one of the most insane ways I have ever heard a track kick off, and over a sinister beat cooked up by the one and only Alchemist, Kendrick has the perfect musical setting to just clap back at Drake's seemingly predictable attack, and with this almost 7-minute cut, Kendrick continues to come at Drake's character by not just throwing any more warnings or punches at him, but by talking about Drake directly to each member of his family. As Lamar talks to Adonis about how bad he feels that Drake is his dad, you see an approach taken from Kendrick that has never been used before in a rap beef, as he talks to Drake's kid and pities for him because of the sick and twisted nature of the person he's being raised by. This is such a creative way to come at your opponent, especially when you actually have a history and claims to back up why so, and from mentioning some wild moments Drake has been involved in, to talking about some of the dark past that he spiraled down. By rapping in this manner, Kendrick reveals to the world even more dirt on Drake, and whether it's some of the shady rings he may be in, or just exposing the weird way he changed his appearance seemingly overnight. Kendrick keeps approaching Drake from every single angle possible, and from here, only ramps up the disses in terms of the sheer brutality they possess, and with the second verse of the cut, Kendrick talks to Drake's mother Sandra as he focuses in on how Drake has hurt so many girls and uses the concept of womanhood to really make her sit and empathize with the potential victims of Drake in the first place, and in the same verse, Kendrick also goes on to address Drake's dad, Dennis, And he really lets in here as he just tells him that he raised a horrible person, and from here, he raps like he's sitting down with both of them to tell them the unfortunate and brutal truth about their son, as he says that he is a sick man with sick thoughts and that he should end up in a cell with Harvey Weinstein, which, oh my god. Kendrick is not just playing into a lot of the creepy stuff around Drake and girls over the years, but he is alluding to the fact that there may be even more that we don't know, and as the track progresses, he only continues to flesh out this rotten morality that Drake has by not just talking about the problematic nature of some people who are on the payroll at OVO, but he even accuses Drake of partaking in some of the most horrible things done in the industry, and he says that he protects what seems to be himself and so many others from ever being exposed. As Kendrick says that Drake's $100 million mansion is going to get raided soon because of the things that he has done, and that anybody who loves their families needs to keep them far away from Drake. He's able to set up this super dark tone, and in the third verse, when things couldn't get any more intense, Kendrick says 3 words that change everything. Dear baby girl, and wow. Before I go crazy, to be fair, Drake has already denied these claims and there is no proof to confirm this, but as Drake has already been exposed for hiding one kid, and the fact that everything else Kendrick has said on this track, although some of it could be speculation, is rooted in some sort of truth and reality. While we don't have official confirmation if this is true, this is a beyond devastating attack to Drake's character, as he is once again being portrayed as an absent father, and as Kendrick talks to this girl, he talks about how horrible Drake is and even says that he has been absent for 11 years. And if this is the case, this truly becomes even crazier than the story of Adidon, and bringing everything full circle. In the final verse, after addressing his parents and now seemingly 2 kids, Kendrick comes at Drake himself and here unleashes one final blow, and what I love about this verse is that Kendrick tells him this was supposed to be a good exhibition within the game of hip-hop, but as Drake has done in beefs over and over again, he's brought people's families into things, and as a result of this choice, Kendrick did not hold back here, and as Lamar continues to rip away and away at whatever integrity Drake has left, as he talks about his creepy habits, horrible addictions, and just pathetic life, Kendrick leaves this song saying everything he needs to, as he concludes with the line, "F a rap battle, this a long life battle with yourself." Now, while the way Kendrick wraps this song up almost makes it seem like he is ready to walk away from this beef, as a feud of this magnitude has just went from being a rap battle to a real full-on personal attack. I don't think this is going to be possible at this point, as between the shots that both parties threw out with their most recent tracks, I am sure that both Drake and Kendrick are going to want to say a lot more to each other and beyond this. While both of these tracks made claims, and in Kendrick's case, he really did deliver one of the most ruthless and well put together diss tracks of all time. As long as either side's allegations remain unconfirmed, we won't have a definitive winner, as based on the truth of the statements, it can change the entire playing field. But between the 3 diss tracks that he released and the claims that, while are not confirmed, seem way more likely to be true, Kendrick is dominating this beef right now as far as I am concerned, but I don't think that this feud is over one bit, and a matter of fact, I think it's about to get more intense than ever. So let me know. What do you think about Kendrick and Drake's latest diss tracks, and which song do you think was better, and who do you think has won the feud to this point? I can't wait to hear what you have to say, and if you want to see my video breaking down Kendrick's track 616 in LA and see how it provoked Drake to release such a personal and unhinged diss track, check out the suggested video.